Sometimes the quietest acts of courage change the world forever. Jonas didn't save Lyra the snow leopard for fame. He did it because compassion demanded it. In a cold world, even one warm heart can make all the difference. If this touched your heart, like and follow for more stories of hope, healing, and wild spirits. Under the frozen stars of Mongolia's Altai Mountains, a frail figure limped through the biting wind. Lyra, a young snow leopard, starving and frostbitten, stumbled toward a lonely mountain road. Her paws, cracked and bleeding, left a faint trail across the snow. As headlights pierced the night, car after car sped past, oblivious or unwilling to stop. But Lyra didn't run. She stood trembling at the roadside, her icy blue eyes reflecting something stronger than fear, hope. Minutes felt like lifetimes. Exhausted, Lyra collapsed onto the snowy shoulder, too weak to move, her thin ribs rising and falling with ragged breaths. The night grew colder. Predators lurked unseen. Survival seemed a cruel, distant dream. Until fate intervened. A rugged wildlife ranger named Jonas Reed spotted her, a ghost against the snow, and slammed on his brakes. Heart hammering, he grabbed a blanket and a ration of food, stepping cautiously into the dark. He expected aggression, wildness, terror. But when he knelt beside her, he found only quiet desperation. No growl, no fight, only trust. Jonas knew this wasn't just an injured animal. It was a life hanging by a thread. And tonight, on this frozen road, he would not be the one to walk away. The icy wind howled across the Altai road as Jonas Reed crouched beside the fallen snow leopard, every instinct urging caution, but something deeper pulling him closer. Lyra, the once proud spirit of the mountains, now shivered like a leaf against the endless white. Jonas extended his gloved hand slowly, offering scraps of jerky from his emergency pack. Lyra's glazed eyes flickered weakly toward the scent. No snarl, no claw, only a faint, trembling lick. His breath caught in his throat. In 20 years of rescuing wildlife, Jonas had never seen such a raw, desperate plea for help. The young snow leopard, barely more than a cub, was too far gone to even fear him. Carefully, he draped the heavy thermal blanket over her fragile body, shielding her from the cruel bite of the night air. But getting her to safety would be no small task. She was light, dangerously so, but still too heavy to carry easily across the slick, uneven road. The frostbite had already set into her paws, her strength fading with every heartbeat. Jonas tightened the blanket around her, whispering reassurances into the frigid darkness. He couldn't save them all. But tonight, he would save her, even if it cost him everything. Jonas Reed gritted his teeth against the freezing wind as he wrestled with the impossible. Lyra, wrapped snugly in the heavy blanket, lay limp and silent in the snow, her body frighteningly still. He had no stretcher, no backup, only brute determination and an aging pickup truck parked precariously on the icy shoulder. Jonas slid his arms beneath her fragile frame, feeling every trembling breath against his chest. She was lighter than she should have been, and yet every step across the slick, frozen ground felt like dragging the weight of the entire mountain. Twice he slipped, his knees cracking painfully against the ice, but he refused to let go. He whispered to Lyra with each breath, willing her to stay alive. "Almost there, girl. Hold on." With a final gasping heave, Jonas lifted her onto the truck bed, cushioning her fall with spare jackets and tarps. His fingers, numb and raw, fumbled to strap her down safely. The world blurred with exhaustion and snow, but he never stopped moving. Saving her wasn't just about strength, it was about heart. As Jonas slammed the truck door and sped toward the nearest outpost, he glanced into the rearview mirror. Lyra's eyes fluttered open, just once, as if she knew she wasn't alone anymore. The truck's tires skidded on the treacherous mountain road, ice cracking beneath them like thin glass. Jonas gripped the steering wheel tighter, every muscle in his body taut with urgency. In the truck bed, cocooned in tarps and blankets, Lyra lay still, too still. Her breath fogged the freezing air in faint, shallow wisps. Each minute that passed felt like a lifetime slipping away. "Stay with me, girl," Jonas muttered, glancing into the mirror to catch a glimpse of her limp form. But the cold was brutal, seeping into her fragile body faster than the heaters could chase it away. When he heard a soft, almost inaudible whimper, fear clenched his heart. She was slipping deeper into the cold's deadly grip. Breaking protocol and instinct, Jonas pulled over beneath the shadow of a snow-heavy fir. Climbing into the truck bed, he pressed his own body against Lyra's shivering frame, sharing what little warmth he could. His parka wrapped them both like a shield against the bitter wind. "Don't give up now," he whispered fiercely into the darkness. Somewhere between the howling storm and his pounding heartbeat, he felt it, a faint stir of life against his chest. Hope, stubborn and flickering, refused to die. The truck rattled violently over the frozen road, each bump jarring Lyra's fragile body wrapped in tarps and blankets. Jonas gripped the wheel with white-knuckled hands, his breath fogging the windshield as he whispered urgently to the limp snow leopard in the back, "Stay with me, little warrior, just a little longer." Outside, the blizzard thickened, a howling wall of white that threatened to swallow the world whole. Glancing into the rearview mirror, Jonas's heart twisted. Lyra's breathing had grown alarmingly shallow. Fear gnawed at him. Standard rescue protocol screamed at him to keep his distance, to avoid direct contact. But tonight, rules meant nothing. Slamming on the brakes, Jonas leapt from the cab, fighting against the shrieking wind. Climbing into the truck bed, he wrapped his arms around Lyra's shivering frame, pressing his body heat into her frozen skin. He pulled another jacket over them both, shielding her as best he could from the brutal night. Minutes passed like lifetimes. Slowly, miraculously, he felt the faintest twitch beneath his hands. A breath, a stir. He couldn't save every animal wandering the merciless wilds. But tonight, he would save this one. And somewhere in the darkness, Lyra fought to live, her spirit refusing to fade. The moment Jonas burst into the outpost, the world erupted into controlled chaos. Rangers and medics rushed toward the battered truck, eyes widening at the sight of the ghostly snow leopard lying motionless beneath layers of tarps. Jonas shouted over the roaring wind, "Severe frostbite, starvation, she's fading fast." They worked swiftly, lifting Lyra onto a stretcher, racing her into the warmth of the tiny infirmary. Blankets were piled high. IV fluids snaked into trembling veins. A heater groaned against the cold, fighting to revive her fragile body. Jonas knelt at her side, refusing to leave, whispering broken encouragements into her ear. Hours dragged by with no guarantee of survival. But just before dawn, as the blizzard howled beyond the windows, Lyra stirred, only slightly, but enough. A faint twitch of her paw, a ragged breath. Against all odds, the warrior of the mountains had chosen to fight. As Lyra slowly regained her strength at the outpost, Jonas worked with local authorities to piece together the mystery behind her suffering. The truth that emerged chilled him more than any mountain storm. Lyra hadn't been a wild-born wanderer. She was the last survivor of a cruel, illegal roadside zoo that had been hastily abandoned months ago. Starved, neglected, and never taught to hunt, she had been dumped into the wilderness like discarded trash. Rangers discovered cages rusting in a collapsed shed, stained with old blood, and bones scattered in the snow. The so-called owners were fugitives, leaving a trail of cruelty in their wake. Jonas clenched his fists in silent rage, but as he looked at Lyra, now lifting her head, now tasting real freedom, he vowed her story wouldn't end in pain. She would not be another forgotten casualty. She would be the beginning of something stronger, survival against the odds. Weeks later, the Altai Mountains welcomed home a spirit they had almost lost. Stronger now, her silver coat glistening beneath the winter sun, Lyra padded cautiously across the rocky slope. Behind her, Jonas stood silently, watching with a heart heavier than he dared show. No cage, no chain, only the endless freedom of the wild ahead. Lyra paused at the ridgeline, her breath a soft mist in the morning air. For a moment, she turned, her blue eyes locking with Jonas's one last time. No words passed between them, only a silent gratitude, a bond that would outlast even the mountains themselves. Then, with a final flick of her tail, Lyra vanished into the vast, open wilderness she was always meant to roam. Jonas stayed a while longer, feeling both the ache of goodbye and the soaring triumph of hope fulfilled. Some goodbyes, he realized, were the purest gifts of all. Sometimes, the greatest acts of courage are the quietest ones, the moments when we choose kindness, even when no one is watching. Jonas didn't save Lyra for fame or reward. He stopped because compassion demanded it. In a world often too busy to notice suffering, one small act of mercy can ripple outward, changing not just a life, but an entire future. Lyra's silent thank you wasn't spoken in words. It was written in trust, hope, and freedom. This story reminds us that real strength isn't measured by how much we take, but by how fiercely we choose to protect what cannot speak for itself. In every cold world, there is a chance to be the warmth that saves someone. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more journeys of hope, healing, and the wild spirit that lives in us all.